The Atlantic languages of Semitic or Semitidic origin are a disputed concept in historical linguistics put forward by Theo Vennemann. The theory has found no notable acceptance in academic circles, and is criticized as being based on sparse and often misinterpreted data, theory and lines of argumentation. It was widely believed among British scholars of the 19th century that Britain and Ireland had Semitic prehistory, which was also reflected in the Celtic languages. William Owen Puffer in his 1832 Dictionary of Welsh offered philological evidence of the close relationship between Welsh and Hebrew. The ablative-like structure of Welsh is also discussed in the dictionary. These ideas are plain to see in are a forerunner to the ideas of Vennemann. In addition, the discoveries at the Ness of Brodgar are similar to priestly Chalcolithic ritual depicted in images at Tel el Argasel in the Levant, and their copper ornaments resemble the carved stone balls found only in eastern Scotland. According to Vennemann, Afro-Asiatic seafarers settled the European Atlantic coast and are to be associated with the European megalithic culture. They left a superstratum in the Germanic languages and a substratum in the development of Insular Celtic. He claims that Atlantic speakers founded coastal colonies beginning in the 5th millennium BC. Thus, Atlantic influenced the lexicon and structure of Germanic and the structure of Insular Celtic. According to Vennemann, migrating Indo-European speakers encountered non-IE speakers in northern Europe who had already named rivers, mountains and settlements in a language he called Vasconic. He considered that there were toponyms on the Atlantic coast that were neither Vasconic nor Indo-European. These he considers derived from languages related to the Mediterranean Hamito-Semitic group. Vennemann bases his theory on the claim that Germanic words without cognates in other Indo-European languages very often belong to semantic fields that are typical for loanwords from a superstratum language, such as warfare, law and communal life. Likewise, he proposes Semitic etymologies for words of unknown or disputed origin. For instance, he relates the word B to Egyptian Bjt of the name Era, older asterisk Iweri due to asterisk JWR island copper, as in Akkadian Weri copper. Other evidence he adduces for a Semitic superstratum includes Semitic influence on the Germanic form of the Indo-European Ablaud system and similarities between Germanic paganism and Mesopotamian mythology. For instance, the parallelism between Freya and Ishtar, goddesses of war and love. The idea that there is a connection between Insular Celtic and Afro-Asiatic goes back to John Davies. It was expanded by John Morris Jones in 1913 and developed further by Vennemann. This position is supported by Pokorny, and Vennemann identifies Phoenicians as the likely people. A key factor is the dominant word order in Insular Celtic compared to other IE languages, together with lexical correspondences. Another important factor is the identification of the people later known as Picts. Vennemann holds the position that they spoke an Atlantic language. This belief was also held by Zimmer but is not generally accepted. Criticism. Chaim Y. Shannon, adjunct professor of Jewish literature at Gratz College, critically reviewed the work Europa Vasconica, Europa Semitica, in which Vennemann laid out his arguments for the existence of a Semitic superstratum in the Germanic languages. He concludes that Vennemann's arguments are unacceptable on several grounds. He notes that Vennemann based important parts of his main claim on long outdated and critically rejected literature, that many of the words presented by Vennemann as evidence of an Atlantic superstratum display nothing more than mere ad hoc sound similarities, and that Vennemann's claims made in reference to Semitic range from objectionable to ridiculous. In summary, Shannon concludes that failed in this book not only as comparative linguist or etymologist, but even in his narrow specialization as a Germanist. In short, we consider the book a complete failure. The book has also been reviewed by Baldi and Page. They too are critical of his Germanic part of the theory. There are no Phoenician inscriptions in Britain, though traders may have visited the island, so the insular Celtic part of the theory depends on linguistic evidence. The period of the 5th millennium is very early for Celtic speakers in Britain compared with other theories. For example, Mallory suggests a date around 1000 BC, though more recently a 3rd or 4th millennium date has controversially been suggested by Gray and Atkinson. Vennemann's view of the establishment of megaliths is not supported by mainstream archaeologists, who view the construction as having a widespread local origin along oceanic Europe, or one that spread from Portugal long before the bell beakers, or any possible Cardium culture influences from the Mediterranean. Esker argues that the change from verb non-initial word order in continental Celtic to verb initial in insular Celtic is internally motivated. Baldi and Page say that the strength of Vennemann's proposals lies in his lexical arguments and that these merit serious consideration. The origin of the Picts is unknown. See discussions by Jackson and by Wainwright, as well as those by Kitson and by Forsyth.